Anybody wants to learn how to ink, check this out. So in this video, I'm going to do a quick tutorial on how to ink a panel from a comic strip, and I have a bunch of ink pens that I have right now, and I'll go through one by one and show you which one is best for your lines, and I'm going to walk you through on how to get this done so it looks cool and clean and nice and precise and the way you would like to have it done. So let's get started. So welcome to my channel at David Jorah Creations, and today I will walk you through and show you how to get this inked, and let's get started. So usually when I start doing a panel, I usually do the boxes first and then I work my way in. So if you guys want to start with the boxes, I would recommend a Sharpie. Usually I get it's a fine point, but these ones are great because you could do nice thick lines. So grab yourself like a thick marker, and we're going to get started and we're going to draw the boxes. So grab yourself a ruler, make sure your lines are nice and straight. You don't want to freehand this because this is something that you need some precision work. So I highly recommend you get a ruler and get your boxes done with a nice straight line. So get that lined up, and what you're going to do is you're going to take this and you're going to go over that line and just get that nice and straight in there. So you don't have to follow your pencils perfectly, but try to get them to where you want it. So the idea is just to follow through and keep the work consistent. So in this case, I'm going to go over it a couple times to make my lines nice and thick, and just kind of work my way through. Don't be afraid to go over it a couple times because you want to create some nice thick lines, because this is going to outline your boxes and it's going to clean up your page very nicely. So get that worked in there, and we're going to continue on. I'm going to do the whole box here, and make sure when you do the corners, line up your ink lines nice and straight. Try not to go past too much. Try to keep the corners nice and clean. So take your time when you're doing this, because this is the cleanup stage. So typically when you're inking, you're cleaning up your pencils as you're going along. So you don't want to rush this. You want to take your time and clean up your panels, because typically when you're doing your pencils are going to be more roughed in there, but they're still kind of like you're getting your details down. But when you're inking, you're going to really clean up your pencil work. So be sure to take your time and make this nice and tight, and don't go over your lines too much. So let's finish this here. Again, take your time. And there you have it. So the box is done, and as you can see, the corners are lining up nice and perfectly. You don't want to go over too much because you're going to have like some work to do to clean it up. And don't forget, once your whole page is all done and inked, you're going to proceed to scanning these, and you're going to upload them on whatever program you're going to use. For instance, I use Photoshop, so once you put it in Photoshop, you can do those small edits if you do happen to go over some lines. So just think about that when you're inking, that if you do mess up in a couple spots, feel free to go in Photoshop and do those like little small edits, and then you can clean up your page to the way you like it. So we're going to put away this marker, and now that we're going into the panel, we're going to start using a different marker to do the line work. So in this case, I will go to a Tomboy. I really like these ones. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the Tomboy. These are like a 0.5, so these ones are great for doing like more like the outlines. So if you're using a 0.5, I suggest you use it for like outlining your characters and focus on the thick lines around the artwork. Don't worry about doing the fine lines, because all the fine lines, all the small details, you're going to move to a 0.1. So before you touch on the fine detailing, work on the outlines and do your thick lines with the 0.5, because you're going to notice a difference in thickness on the tip. So this is like a flat, straight tip. These ones are a lot rounder. So a 0.5 normally means that the tip is a little bit larger than a 0.1, because once you go down to a 0.1, you're getting into a fine tip, and you're going to notice the difference when you look at these. So if you want to grab one of these, I highly recommend them, because I like the feel and the flow, and the quality of the line work looks really nice too. So let's get started here. So since we're drawing a Jeep, we're going to deal with a lot of straight lines. So again, please grab your ruler and get those nice lines with a ruler. You can freehand it if you feel super confident. Some people do it depending on like how long the lines are, but usually when you deal with like long straight lines, it's just so much quicker to use a ruler. If not, freehand it, but just kind of take your time. And I find when you freehand it, it kind of gives it more of a natural feel to it. So it's not like completely straight, because sometimes when you're inking, it's fun to experiment. Sometimes it creates a style where it doesn't feel too I don't know, it's hard to explain, but just play around and get a feel for it, and then you'll see what you're comfortable with. But if you're just starting, I would recommend using a ruler so you can get those nice straight lines. And again, as you're going to be inking, you're going to create those nice tight lines. Make sure you get those ends connected, and don't leave it too etchy. Kind of clean it up as you go, so that way you get those nice lines tightened up, and you're creating a nice solid drawing that way. So we're going to move in and we're going to start inking, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So let's get in there and let's get started. So again, when you're starting, feel free to start wherever you want. It doesn't matter. There's no order. It's basically wherever you feel like starting drawing, just go wherever you feel it's right. So we're going to start here. And usually when I do the corners, I kind of freehand it just to kind of get in there, and sometimes you're gonna, yeah, like this one's getting low on ink, so I'll probably use my other one. So let's put this one aside. I usually have a few laying around, and sometimes you tend to grab the old one that's running low on ink, so you gotta look around and see which ones are good. So it can happen. I use them till they run dry, and then I get rid of them, so because you never know, some of these can last a long time. Alright, so here, this one's working pretty good. So usually what I do the corners. And now here, get one of these triangles. These ones are great because you're just going in and doing some small lines. So just use your small triangle square, so that way like you're not having to use a big long ruler, because it gets in the way sometimes. These ones are very easy to use, so feel free to use one of these, and you're gonna find it's more flexible to use. So line it up, make sure you're going in there, getting those nice straight lines. So just take your time, go over the lines, make sure you're connecting it, and make sure they look nice and clean. So as you can see, you're going to see that the line is going to look nice and clean, and work around the edges, work around the corners, and make sure you connect it and have a nice flow. Don't go over too much, because again, when you're inking, you're cleaning up your line work. So take your time and make this look nice. So here I'm going to continue here. So make sure you line it up right where that line is, and then just go over it. And usually when I'm inking, I usually have a tendency to go over it a couple times. get a nice straight line, as you can see. And then don't be afraid to get in there and get those little details in there. Focus on the shapes. And then here we're going to come around and we're going to focus on getting some nice clean shapes here. So take your time, get those nice lines looking nice and straight. Now you can see how it's got a nice flow, and you can see how it's a nice tight line. There's no etching going on. You want to keep that nice line nice and straight. So let's go back up here. So in this case, when you're doing a windshield, there's a little bit of a curve, so you don't want to make these lines straight. You want to keep with the curve. So in this case, what I'll do is I'll just kind of maneuver the page here and position it in a way where you can actually like get the nice straight lines going. So this can get a little tricky, so if you don't feel super confident, I would suggest getting a blank sheet of paper and just take your marker and just practice making some straight lines. And that way, like when you're inking, you can build up the confidence in creating those nice straight lines. So in this case, I'm just kind of going over it, trying to keep it as nice and straight as possible. And inside the windshield, you're going to notice there's a bit of a curve around the corners. So try to focus on the details. And again, as you're drawing this and you're inking, this is your final stage. So focus on details and do not rush it. So pay extra attention to how things look like in real life and try to capture that look as you're inking. Because the idea is not to copy exactly what's there, but to actually clean it up and make it look just like a truck would look like. So focus on the little details and just try to capture it as close as you can as far as the look goes. So here I'm going to go in there, freehand those corners because there's a bit of a curvature in there. Just get that other corner in there. And because this has a little curve, I'm going to freehand this again. And like, you're going to notice you're going to go over it a little bit. This one doesn't have lots of ink, so I'm just kind of using it sparingly and just taking my time. So as you can see, you go over it, just go over your lines over and over, but like try to keep that nice line looking straight. And now when you look at it, you can see it's got that nice little curve and nice and clean. So now we're going to go back here. Alright, let's get that position there perfectly. So now we're going to go back in here. So again, you can freehand this, and since we're going up and down, this is easy to draw this way. If you feel like you're having a problem like drawing, everybody has a different way of drawing freehand, depending on, like, especially if you're drawing traditional. Try to position your page in such a way where you can draw that line nice and straight, where it doesn't feel awkward when you're drawing it. So some people are right-handed, some people are left-handed, so it all depends on like how you're getting in there. You want to position the page in a way where you know how to draw those lines nice and confident, so it feels nice and it doesn't, you're not getting in an awkward position where you can't get that straight line. So always position it in such a way where you can actually get those straight lines. So like in this instance, I'm just gonna keep it like this, and I'm gonna work those lines in there. So as you can see, this is looking nice and straight. I'm gonna go back in here. And again, when it's just short little lines, it's easy to go over it and get that nice and straight. So if you're going to go here and draw this line, I would suggest getting a little ruler. So you can use this. The little triangle is pretty good for that. So just do a little bit at a time. And you notice when you come into the detail, don't draw straight through. So try to draw here, go in, and then go back out. And it leaves this open, and it kind of gives it some a little bit of dimension at the same time. So I'll show you what I mean here. So I'm gonna go in here and draw this line. So now you're gonna go up here. These are really fine lines. So now you're gonna come back like this. So now I'm gonna come do a nice straight line. So now you can see what I mean. So I left that open. It just kind of gives it a bit of a dimension. So what you can do here is you can continue it down here. So it looks like there's a groove inside of that hood. So it's like an indent. So pay attention to small details. Sometimes you'll see like you can really play around with the depth in what you're drawing. And it's good to do that because you're creating more dimension around what you're drawing, because then when you're inking, it really helps things come out and it just helps it bring to life. So again, take your time, make sure your lines are nice and tight, and you keep it nice and clean, because I find when you start etching it in, it kind of gives it a messy look, and you're gonna notice you're not gonna be too pleased with your work, and it just makes it look very rough around the edges, so to speak. So when you keep your lines nice and clean, you're just creating a nice solid form, and it looks nice and clean, and you really capture the right look for what you're drawing. So same goes for people and backgrounds and environment. Environments are fun because you can kind of get away with like being a little bit more etchy and making it more organic, because it's a very natural environment. But when you're drawing machinery and stuff like that, you want to keep your lines as straight as possible. So I would really highly recommend using a ruler just to get those nice clean lines. So we're going to go in here, draw this line here, and again, just feel free to go in there, do all your major lines. And here, I'm going to go up here. And again, take your time, connect the dots. And if you're going to draw one straight line, keep it going consistent and flow with the line, but don't stop. Just continue and focus on the way the curvature is, and keep the nice lines like flowing, but keep it straight. So again, it takes practice, but the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. So now we got those straight lines, and as you can see, there's a lot of curves in here, so we're going to start freehanding those. So, but before I move on to that, I'm going to finish around the door frame, and I'm going to show you some more as we go along here. So we got that part. Gonna keep drawing here. So yeah, got that part done. And again, the idea is to take your time, develop the skill to make nice, smooth, straight lines, and you're gonna start to capture the look and feel of what you're drawing. So focus on detail, take your time, do not rush this. Unless you get super good, then when you become really confident in what you're doing, you start speeding up the process, but that takes time to develop. So this doesn't happen very fast, but the more you draw, the better and faster you're gonna get at it. So right now I'm just kind of going through and kind of showing you a little bit how I do this, because I know some people are interested in how I ink and how I go about it. So this is more or less how I do it. And I know a lot of people like to do it digitally, and they use Procreate or other, programs on their laptop to create their drawings. So, but that's a different different process than doing it traditionally, like the way I'm doing it now. A lot of people prefer doing it traditional because I feel like there's more control in how you're drawing your lines. So again, we got some of the main outlines of this Jeep. So I just thought I'd show you how to do the line work. And again, just take your time, get in there, get those nice thick lines in there. And you're gonna notice here, so if you're gonna draw here, for example, this is part of the wheel, and this cap right here, you know it's more at the forefront, so you're gonna make those lines a little bit thicker to show that it's sticking out from the Jeep. So don't be afraid to thicken up those lines at the front, because anything that stands out at the front are usually gonna have thicker lines. So this is what creates more dimension in your art. And feel free to go over your lines a little bit. And then right here, just flow with the lines, keep it straight. And there you have it. Usually what I do is, if like, I know I'm drawing a tire, there's the lines inside the tire and all the grooves. And you don't want to draw exactly the way you have it. You know, based on, you know, how the tire looks like, you're going to incorporate that into the tire as you're inking. So usually what I do, I kind of go in there and I just freehand it. So don't be afraid to create the grooves. Take your time, make those grooves, make sure they're evenly spaced. And you can see I'm just kind of following the line. And now you can see all the little grooves. And now you're starting to make it look more like a tire. So this is what I'm talking about when it comes to doing fine detailing. Pay attention to what you're drawing and how they actually look like. So you're not just drawing the way you have it originally. The idea is to make it realistic, so keep it looking as real as possible. So in this case, you're going to show more depth this way. So just connect the lines. This is where the fun comes into play, because I personally love inking, and this is the fun part about inking, is really capturing all the little details. So I just established the main outline with the 0.5, and I just wanted to show you that this is what I use to establish this. And to move on, we're going to use a 0.1. So it's the same style of pen, so the same Tomboy, but this one's a 0.1. So again, I would pick up one of these just so you can get a feel for them, but like when you look at these, you can see the end is very, very fine. So this is really good for doing fine details. So when you go back to this panel, for example, you're going to see the Jeep has some shadows, has a little bit of, you know, some rust, some of the dirt. So all the little details like that, I usually like to use the 0.1 to get all the little details. So if you're going to go in this, for example, I would just highlight the shadows with this so the line doesn't stand out so much and it looks more subtle, but you're still capturing the look behind it. So if you want to take this, I would just go in here and you can see all the little lines in here. That's kind of like a little shadow line along the side of the truck, which indicates like the little grooves that forms like the shape of the truck. So using this is a good way to establish that. So again, just go in there and just get those lines in there. So you could see they don't stand out they don't stand out too much, but it's just enough to notice it when you look at the drawing. And usually what I do is I just go over top, make a little line, just kind of connect all the dots, keep it flowing. So keep the line work directional so they're flowing in the same direction. Make sure you get those nice confident straight lines in there. And you're going to see you're going to capture that little groove on the side of the truck. And same thing with the dirt that's stuck on the side of the truck. There's just little dots, some lines. So you could see there's like a little bit of dirt on there. So just feel free to just kind of go in there, give it some rust. And this is kind of where it starts bringing it to life. So again, another thing this is good for is doing, for example, like you're going to do the headlights. There's little lines to indicate the shadows from like the light fixture. So you can use this to go inside and draw some like really fine lines. And this is a great way to capture that look. Again, keep with the shape. Pay attention to the perspective. You can see the headlights are indented into the front, and there's a bit of a groove around it. So you want to pay attention to like how it's sunken in a little bit. So you want to really focus on like the line work here. And sometimes you don't have to connect it all the way, but just like leave it a little open space, just to show that it's indented in there. So this is what kind of creates that three-dimensional look too at the same time. So when you look at the headlight, you could see you just want to focus on line work, because don't forget, if you scan this and put it in Photoshop, Photoshop is where you can have fun with the colors and start adding all the shadows and the highlights. All right, so we established that for now. And now we're going to move on to a different pen that's like a brush pen. And these ones are really awesome. So this is another Tomboy. Great brand. I know I talk about it a lot, but I honestly like these. If you get this one and open the cap, you'll see here, when you look at the tip, it's very different than the other one. This one has like more of a triangular shaped tip. These ones will actually be fun to use when it comes to drawing people and stuff like that. So this is what creates more of an organic feel when you're drawing like people or animals or anything that's not very technical. So I would really recommend these, because you'll get a nice flow of like how the line, it just creates a nice natural flow when you're inking. So pick up one of these and you're going to notice a huge difference when you're inking. So I'm going to get started and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. So I'm going to start drawing this guy here, and we can start from the head. Usually I start from the head and I work my way down. So I'm going to show you what I mean. So let's get started. So again, here you want to focus on getting the shapes, and don't be afraid. Like don't lay on your pen too thick. Just go on there nice and lightly, and you're gonna get a feel for like how thick your line's gonna look like. The less you press on it, the finer the line will look, but if you press hard, your line will show up thicker. That's the beauty of a brush pen. So you get a nice wide range of line thicknesses. And because I'm drawing an eyebrow, you don't want to go too thick. You want to go nice and light. So, and you can really fill it in. It just really has a nice flow. So here, got the glasses. I'm going to keep with the shape. Get those nice straight looking glasses. Just like that. There you go. Can really have fun getting into the details in here, so. But yeah, just take your time, focus on shapes, get some nice straight lines in there. You're gonna see as you're gonna ink, it's gonna like start looking nice and clean. You're gonna tighten that look. So as you can see the face here. So when you get into the features, take your time. Don't press too hard, just go nice and light. You're gonna really get a nice feel for expressing. See? So when it comes to the mouth, you can have fun. When you're drawing this small, you don't want to add teeth because there's not a whole lot of space. You keep it nice and clean looking. I'm going to draw his ears. You want to keep things very simple when you're drawing small. So the idea is when you draw a face that's really big, you can really get a lot of nice details in there, all the wrinkles, all that fun stuff. But when you're drawing a character this small, you want to keep the shape nice and simple without overcrowding it with too much detail, because you're going to notice it's going to start looking too messy, and you don't want that. You want to keep it as clean looking as possible. So as you can see this is looking pretty much close to being done, so you don't want to go too crazy. So I'm just gonna like black out the sunglasses. And this is nice too, when you start blacking out things, you can start really seeing things come to life. Just like that. So now we're going to draw the hair. And keep the lines going in the same direction. You want to keep those nice lines flowing, just like that. There you go. You can see all the hair is looking nice and even, nice flow going. And then we're going to continue down here. Draw his neck in there. And again, when you're going over your lines, clean up your lines and focus on shape and detailing what you're drawing. So right now I'm starting to get into his jacket, so there's going to be some wrinkles, some curves, and the flaps. His collar, you're going to see this. So obviously this part stands out from the jacket, so to make that stand out, sometimes I add little shadows underneath, and that kind of creates a nice three-dimensional look. And this kind of demonstrates that it's popping out, so yeah, don't be afraid to add some little shadows underneath to show some dimension. But this comes with practice, so like the more you're going to draw stuff, the more you're going to start picking up on like the sense of dimension and the shapes, and you're going to see how it all comes together. So So he's got like ripped up jacket around his sleeve. So you want to add those little rips around here. This is where you have fun detailing it. So really focus on what you're drawing. But yeah, you can see with the brush pen, you can really capture like a nice free flow line kind of thing, you know. And you really give it an organic feel to it. You can see how like some lines are thin and it gets thick down here, which is good because that's what you want. So again, just go nice and light. Keep your lines nice and fluid. Keep it flowing. Don't etch it in there. Keep the flow. Keep the consistency, and you're going to get those nice straight lines where you're not going to have like that etched look. And keep the flow going in like a certain direction so it feels like everything has a nice flow to it. And you're going to see it's going to really bring your drawing together. And draw his hand in there. But yeah, you get the idea. I'm just kind of going over some little pointers here, some suggestions on how to improve your inking skills. But yeah, inking is where the magic comes to life. I personally love inking. It's kind of therapeutic in a way. You can see all the shadows coming together. And drawing clothing is fun because you can really have fun with all the wrinkles, and there's no set way on like how to draw the wrinkles. You just kind of draw it the way it feels right. So yeah, so there you have it. I just went over a few things so far, so I just wanted to establish how to go about using ink markers and how to use them and where to use it, just to kind of give you an idea on like how to ink and stuff like that, so you can build confidence over time. So again, when you're practicing, just feel free to like practice on an empty page. Get those nice lines flowing, get some nice straight lines, practice your curves, and the more you practice, the more you're going to get better at it. So again, when you're drawing your finished panels, take your time, make it look nice, make sure all your lines connect, and make sure it looks nice and clean and precise, and just really focus on making a nice drawing and keep it nice and tight and clean, and avoid very etchy looking lines and overcrowding details where it's very hard to read. So I just want to establish that and just kind of show you a basic guideline on how to go about inking. So thank you for watching this, and I'll follow through with some more tutorials in the future. Thank you and goodbye.